So if you had to do, let's say you had, in 6 months' time, you had, I don't know, 8 or 10 sellers, listings. How many of those owners knew nothing about their house, and how many did?
I would say that if I had, let's say I had 10 sellers, 2 of them would not know. Most people know what they've done to their property. It's the 2 that had never been homeowners in the past, are so busy that they're never home. Usually single people that just don't pay attention. They're used to being renters and other people handling their stuff. I've had sellers that are like, oh, I've never changed the filter. You know? And they're just kind of like, they go about their happy, merry lives and don't understand that there's a whole, you know, you need to put that list together of how to maintain your property. I'm so anal retentive about taking care of my house, you know, as I'm sure you will be.
I mean, already am.
I have a termite inspection every year. I make sure, and I'm always looking around to see if there's any dry rot around the eaves. I'm, you know, changing the filter. Like,
it's because you look at it every day.
You know, if there's a leak, I handle it.
Yep.
So if my water bill goes up in any way, I make sure and check the property to see if there are any leaks. I'm all over it. So like, but not everybody's like that because they're not in our business or they're just not as savvy and aware.
We're all different.
You know,
we all have different, you know, priorities in our life, and they never taught us how to change a filter in school.
Right.
I really think that schools really should have a section on how to take care of a home, because we know your parents don't know how.
Oh, dude, they took wood shop out of schools.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I was in wood shop years ago.
They don't have wood shop anymore. Not where we go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. They do have good music classes.
I'm sure they have
some
home
really,
economics where you can bake a cake. They get rid of that too?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Not where we go. Yeah.
So what do they have?
I mean, they have actually really cool music classes where it's not band, where you can create music and electronic music and learn how to use the computer and do music editing, and
the birth of DJs.
It's pretty cool, actually. When I went to back to school night, and I sat down in the class and I'm like, I got cheated. It's so unfair.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So
wow.
So they do have some cool stuff that they've supplemented, but they did take out all the basics, like how to,
do they have
how to wash your dishes.
Do they have TikTok classes in school?
They actually have graphic design classes where they teach you how to make videos for TikTok.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Geez, I wonder who's sponsoring that.
Right.
Wow, I never thought I'd hear that. That's crazy. All right, so here's a good one. So what do you do if you think you've checked everything in the house, you've done to the best of your knowledge, you've noted everything in the house, what's been disclosed to you and so forth, and then I show up and you don't know me, and I'm just a buyer's home inspector, and I say, oh, by the way, you get knob and tube wiring in the house that you weren't aware of because you don't know where to look. You didn't go in the attic. You didn't go in the crawl space. Maybe you just don't have enough experience to know what that looks like. That can happen too.
Right.
Depends on your level of experience as a realtor. You're not going to know these things, but it's good to learn. Hopefully you learn from the one that you just tripped over and, oh shit, we have knob and tube wiring. That's enough to scare anybody away.
Yeah, we've never had that together. So now I'm just learning what that is.
And that's typically in a much older building, early 1900s, stuff like that.
Okay.
So, and then there's, so I'm just now telling you that. So how do you deal with it? What do you tell your seller? An example that you just didn't know about something.
Well, I mean, I always prepare the seller. First of all, even if we do work, I tell them up front that, I've worked with brand new construction homes, right?
Right.
Okay. I've worked with homes that were built in the 1800s.
Nice.
So, you're going to find problems in every single house. I don't care how new the house is. Mm-hmm. You're going to have problems. And so whether those problems are easy to fix or whether they're severe, your report is it's not going to be 5 pages. It'll never be 5 pages.
Never.
So I always
hang on. I think I know an inspection company that does give you 5 pages. And they only charge $199.
Wow. Well, get what you pay for. So I say it's never pretty because they're photos of the broken things and it's photos of the system. Photos of the systems are not pretty, even if they're in working condition. So your report is always going to be a shock. It's going to be ugly. There's going to be a lot of writing. There are going to be things in red. And so you just have to mentally prepare yourself that we're going to go through items and we can go through them together. And I'll go through the report before I get to my client and say, these are the most important items. And then I'll show them the report and then they can go through it and have their panic attack. But
I always say, don't panic.
Right. I always say don't panic too, but nobody ever listens. So unless they don't take care of their house, then they don't care what they see. So they're like, oh, just handle it. So, I always prepare them that there's going to be stuff. So no matter how much we fix, there are going to be items on the report and they'll be addressed by the buyer no matter what, unless we're in that market that we were just in that we're now out of.
Right. Right. So yeah, that's interesting stuff. So what tips do you have for any potential sellers right now with this changing market, how to better prepare before you even show up? Anybody listening right now, in case they're thinking about selling, what would you suggest they do to their house prior to getting a realtor involved? I mean, just go through it. I mean, clean it.
So prior to interviewing agents and having them show up at your house, we're all different. Get your house cleaned. Clean it so that we can see behind the items, all of your knickknacks and your tchotchkes and the box that's covering the outlets, and clean the house. Get all of the clutter out of the way so we can see. And some agents are more detail oriented than others. So some will walk by that giant crack in the ceiling that doesn't look like that could possibly look like shifting of some sort or cracks in the foundation that you can visibly see when you're outside. Some people will walk past those. Some people who are detail oriented might walk past those things.
Sure.
But we should be able to see them. They should be exposed. So anything that could be a problem, just make sure you make a note of it. Talk about it with the agent. Right. Talk about these things. Tell them what's new. Tell them what isn't new.
And paperwork really helps.
Yeah.
If you have a paper trail of the repair you did, by all means, keep those things and give it to the realtor when they come in so they can actually have proof that what you're saying is not a bunch of BS.
Right. And remember, at the end of the day, sure, it's all about your money, right? But you have to go to the process to get your money.
Right.
So.
And it is a process.
It's, a lot of people say that we get paid too much for what we do. And sometimes we do. Sometimes the job is easy, but 90% of the time the job is hard.
Right.
And we are here to absorb the stress when we have inspections and everybody's, we have to keep everybody from being contentious and stressed out and stay relaxed during the process. So just, when you go to choose somebody, make sure that they're that person that communicates with you and keeps you as relaxed as possible with being able to get things done and get you to the finish line in a professional and clean way, where you feel comfortable the whole time knowing that you can trust your money with that person.
Sure. Okay. So now I want to give my opinion on the benefits of pre-listing inspections.
Okay.
For everyone to hear. So, in your opinion, what do you think the number one priority for a home inspector is?
Priority?
What's our main priority for a home inspector when we show up?
To find everything that's wrong.
Close. Close.
You're there to find everything that's broken, dude. Find it all.
Actually, safety hazards.
Okay.
That's our main thing.
That should have been my first answer, but it wasn't.
And no, you had a good answer. So what I mean by safety issues are there steps walking up to the house that are damaged? Is it missing handrails? Did somebody put indoor tile on the outside so when it gets wet, it's all slippery?
Oh, so you can break your neck?
Yeah.
I've done that.
So safety issues, is there exposed wiring on the property? A lot of times it'd be like a junction box coming out of the dirt, and this box is wide open. You put a sniffer on it, it's live. Those are things that you don't want the buyer's inspector to find. You want to go around the property and look like, that doesn't look safe, so let's get that fixed. Can I trip over that? Is there a trip hazard? Is the walkway higher on this side than the other side? Can somebody trip? I mean, I've gone through houses and literally find 10 safety hazards, like just on the outside. And I have to note all that. So that starts to stack up on a report, and it can be a little overwhelming because is
there a Zinsco panel with melting breakers?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. You mentioned you have a story for me. We're going to get to that. So, going in the crawl space in the attic is typically where safety issues exist. Disconnected exhaust vent pipes in the crawl space, if it's a really old house with a floor furnace, or even a newer home that might have a system installed in the crawl space or a basement. Leaking exhaust from the furnace, possible carbon monoxide getting into the house. Mm-hmm. Those are safety issues. Up in an attic, disconnected exhaust vent pipes could be from the water heater, could be from the furnace once again. So the main thing we're looking for is safety hazards. So that in itself is all red in a report. Everything's labeled as red because it's could cause personal injury or worse, death, something like that. So that is the main job of a home inspector. Finding a loose thing in the house, or poor siding installation. That's nothing. That's just something that can be fixed. But letting the customers know how old their major systems are, that's the most important thing.
Right. So
it's kind of like a two-way street there when it comes to, well, a furnace and an AC typically have a life expectancy of 15, 20 years for it to be efficient. Now, it could still be working. I see them all the time. They're 30 years old and they're cranking, They sound good. They're not noisy. They're still quiet, and they're pushing good airflow, good heat flow throughout the house, and everything seems to be balanced good. It's like, great. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it could expire at any time because of the age. So it's a really hard situation to be in as a home inspector, talking to a realtor or the potential buyers of how to describe that. Well, the first thing I start with is everything is working. However, the entire HVAC system has reached the end of its serviceable life. Bingo, everyone starts freaking out.
Right.
It's like ding, 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 ding.
Everybody freaks out.
Everyone freaks out.
Yeah.
So I wish that didn't happen.
I know.
There's really no need to freak out. I just told you everything's working. Did you not know you're buying a used house? An old house?
Right.
Did you not know the house was built in 1950? That's what I start thinking. I'm like, why you got that look on your face? So I didn't panic anybody. I just let them know the facts. I didn't yell it. I deliver it in the same monotone voice I always do. By the way, it is at the end of its life expectancy. Okay, John, so what's a typical life expectancy? And I tell them, 15, 20 years typically. And then the listing agent. But you said it's working. Yes, ma'am. I made that abundantly clear, and that was the first words out of my mouth.
Usually it's the listing agent, and then the buyer's agent is trying to buffer the stress between the listing agent and now the buyer.
Right.
If everybody's present, and then you have the seller, if they're present, going, it works, but it works.
Yeah. Well, the roof's not leaking right now. I'm like, because it ain't raining.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The roof's damaged. Yeah, but there's no evidence of leaks. Listing agents, please don't say that to your inspector.
Yeah.
there's no one needs to hear you say that.
Right.
I know it's a defensive reaction. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's not a debate. We're not there to debate the condition of the house with you. We're there to tell you this is the age, this is the condition, and that is it.
Yeah.
We're not there for debate.
I'm
I
with
have
you,
to
dude.
shut people down.
You've taught me everything you know, and I listen.
Good.
So when I see another inspector and they come in and they're, depending on whatever their energy is, I go, oh, you're here to tell me what's up. It's all good.
That's it.
I can't change it, you know?
No,
Not today. I mean, I could change it today if I hired somebody, but you know, it is what it is.
Here's something that came up a couple days ago on a house. It was an old roof. It was multiple layers, but the top layer was holding up fairly well. I mean, there wasn't a bunch of granule loss. It wasn't falling apart. There wasn't loose shingles everywhere. So I tell my customers and their realtor, I said, the roof's older, but it's not in bad shape. And the small sections of the roof, the flat roof areas, those need to be replaced. And then she asked me, the realtor asked me, so what's the age of the roof? So I want to clear this up on the podcast right now, okay? Nobody can pinpoint the age of a roof by looking at it. They don't come with labels, so stop asking the home inspectors. It's a very repetitive question. If it comes out of my buyer's mouth, I expect it, and I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it when a realtor asks me that question because it's unnecessary.
So I usually ask.
They should know this by now.
Right. Usually if I ask anything about the roof, it's how long do you think we have left?
Sure.
How long do you think we have left?
Right, which brings another question.
Because it could be weather related. It could be rain related. I mean,
Right.
who knows what kind of weather you've been working in, or whether it's heat related. I mean, whether it's construction related. How long do we have left, dude? Tell me.
So what's more important? That's the big question. What's more important, the age of the roof or the condition of the roof?
Right.
Why is no one else catching on to that? I don't get it. I just literally scratch my head every day when a realtor says that to me.
Because everybody's brain works differently.
Well, one, no one really knows the age unless you have a permit invoice. Right. You have paperwork, a paper trail, a way to prove when it was installed. Oh, it's 20 years. Oh, it's done. It's not done. This is really happening right now. I just bought a house within the past 24 hours. The roof is 20 years old. The roof is in great condition. There's no granule loss on it. There's no broken shingles. They're not brittle and falling apart. It's fine. I have no problem with the roof on that house being 20 years old. It doesn't matter how old the roof is. It matters the condition of the roof, which is going to tell you a few things. Well, it was installed correctly, probably by someone who knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. It's got decent ventilation through the attic. It's just holding up. Some roofs do not perform well because of the installation.
Right.
And they tend to fail quick. Like houses with multiple layers tend to cook a lot faster than because there's just no way for them to vent properly because of the multiple layers.
Right.
So there's a lot of...
That's good information, actually.
There's a lot of things to consider. So really focus on the condition of the roof, not the age of the roof. It seems to be... I think it's backwards. And it just, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Oh my God, it's 19 and a half years old. You want to celebrate its birthday? It's tomorrow.
Right.
So who gives a shit? What's the condition? Is it holding up? Is it repelling water like it's supposed to? It's the only thing.
Mine is like, how long will it last before I have to replace it?
Right.
The plumbing's whatever. It's galvanized plumbing. There's the fittings are not the proper fittings. Is it functional? And how long do I have before I have to replace it?
Right.
How long does the client have before they have to replace it?
Right.